Welcome to Cool But Rude, a TMNT rewatch podcast. Today we'll be going over Season 1, Episode 1, Turtle Tracks. This being our pilot episode, first off, we'll be introducing ourselves and then getting to it, so stick around. So to start off, let me introduce myself. I'm Christopher. I've been a fan since as far back as I can remember. From the cartoons, the toys, the games, the movies, and everything in between. I had to have it all. I loved it all. And, even though as old as I am now, it's some of the fondest, whether it's turtle-themed birthdays or anything like that, some of the best memories are just TMNT centric. Yeah, so that's me.
I am Mike, and I pretty much mirror all of those sentiments. I mean, Turtles for me is the sentimental, nostalgic thing from my childhood. I mean, I basically would cry if I missed a Turtles episode. And when the season ended, I was too young to know about seasons and stuff. I was a dumb kid. So
when you just thought that was the end of it?
Yeah. And then when it really did end, I remember frantically trying to find where were my turtles. And I think like the 1997 series started. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? And I shed some tears that day. So that's my love of the turtles. I still cry if I can't get my dose of turtles somehow.
Amen.
I love this concept of you being too young to understand the concept of seasons. So it just seems like the whole thing's over and like your parents or somebody like, no, it's just the season, but you just don't understand.
No, tears anyway. No, I'm crying.
I like the idea that like if you miss an episode, you're crying. Whereas it's because I share that, and it was like, and it was always somebody else's fault. Like it's Saturday morning, and it's like, why didn't you wake me up to watch my cartoons?
Exactly.
Well, I'm Robert. I guess I gotta admit that I was not as beholden to the series as you guys were. Obviously, I was a huge fan, like everybody was growing up.
No, you don't even like the Turtles. That's what you said before we started.
Late 80s, early 90s.
You're like He-Man. Get the hell out of here.
I did like He-Man. But I didn't... Missing an episode was not a big deal. I loved watching it, but like I couldn't have told you what happened the previous week. I just kind of watched it whenever I got a chance and didn't really try to connect the dots too much. But I think what I would also just point out is kind of, and maybe you want to elaborate on this, Chris, I don't know, but one of the things that kind of gave us the idea to do this podcast in the first place was that even before we had kind of gone back to start watching it a lot, whenever we'd be hanging out in a Discord call, like playing games or whatever, we would always 100% of the time somehow end up just like looking up Ninja Turtles toys like on Super 7 or whatever it might be, like, maybe Sideshow, like Sideshow NECA, all that kind of stuff, like, and just kind of like drooling over how badass all of them look, just like the
Oh yeah, I mean,
like how good some of those are. Yeah,
like the Ultimate series or whatever they've come out with, like Super 7, like you said, or even the NECA ones you can get at Target. And it's just like I'm over here lamenting like the shit I had, because it was just like, all right, I'm like, I just need you to do a side kick, snap, there goes your leg, and it's God. And then it's like now I got like a foot soldier that's in pieces. I was like, all right, I can work with this, like but I can't work with Donatello with no arm. That's a little different.
Unless you work into the story.
I mean, I had imagination. I was an only child, so I could definitely make that work. But it was not exactly my favorite take. But yeah, the toys today are just like Robert said, like, we'd end up drooling over whatever is coming out, and then the new series or waves that they do, and it's just like, so somehow all three of us end up talking about Turtles whenever we end up chit-chatting. So it's kind of like the genesis was right there for this podcast. It's like, why not we just take one step further? It's like, we're already talking about them. Why not just record it?
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it. I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. So is it my job to give us the rundown of episode 1 before we kind of get into it?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Robert.
Rundown, man.
All right, well, I'm going to run it down. This is episode 1, turtle tracks, as you said. So in this episode, scientific equipment is being stolen around the city, and April is reporting on it. While doing so, she gets chased by some of the henchmen of Shredder who are behind some of these thefts. She eventually finds herself in a sewer. She's rescued by 4 human-sized mutant turtles trained in the arts of ninjutsu. These are, of course, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The turtles welcome her to their sewer home and explain how they and Splinter became who they are. The turtles then go investigating to find out who's responsible for these robberies and the attack on April. But while they do so, April runs off on her own and gets kidnapped. The turtles end up fighting more Foot Clan. Shredder sees them on camera fighting and realizes that these turtles must be students of his arch rival, Hamato Yoshi, who is Splinter. And the turtles, of course, manage to save April at the end of the day, and they fight off the Foot Clan, and the episode ends with them vowing to find Shredder.
That's about it. Sums it up.
That's the end of the podcast.
So
Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned.
So starting off with April doing this reporting and stuff, I guess we'll talk about that for a minute. We do see a pre-mutated Bebop and Rocksteady. I assume you guys caught that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. And a bunch of hooligans they're hanging out with.
Yeah, and the other hooligans they're hanging out with. I like how at first their crimes are just them bashing up a car and also spray painting people reading the newspaper.
Yeah, they do the whole like Street Fighter 2 beat the hell out of a car thing.
Yep.
Leaving it on crates.
Yeah, and then the poor dude just sitting there and just like they spray over him, and then like just is apparently part of a huge crime wave, and it leads to a bunch of recent robberies that have been happening. You got that brilliant piece of evidence they initially find.
You talk about
yes.
So there's 2 pieces of evidence when they were interviewing this guy on the news. He first says these incisions, like these cuts on like the door frame, I guess. These incisions could only have been made by a samurai sword. All right, I was like, okay, sure, buddy. Only a samurai sword could have made these cuts on the wall. And then, of course, the best part is, and he says, and this rope could only be the work of ninjas because there's a guy tied up in a chair or something like that.
They don't have that's like tell with freeing the guy. By the way, it's not an active crime scene or anything.
Right.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're freeing him up like while they're doing the news reporting. They're like, by the way, yeah, this guy's here tied to. I don't know why I didn't even think about that. He's still tied to the chair as they're doing the news report. And they say this could only be the work of the ninjas, and somebody says why, and he says because the rope's made in Japan. The rope, which is obviously hilarious on its own, just that a Japanese rope means that it had to have been ninjas, but also the rope has a big label on it that says made in Japan.
A huge label. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like some sort of 80s sentiment because of the time everything was made in Japan, but I don't know. That was pretty hilarious where it's just and it's like stitched onto the rope. It's like, what?
Yep. I'll let one of you guys take it from here. I feel like I'm taking over a little bit, but I know this is like just her iconic outfit, but like going back and just kind of thinking about it a little bit more critically, it's kind of hilarious that April wears a tactical jumpsuit as a news reporter.
I mean, yeah, but she makes use of it because, like, apparently she knew she was gonna be rolling with some mutants.
Yeah,
and so I mean, it works out in her favor. She definitely dressed for the occasion. And once again, it's the 80s, so it's jumpsuits for all the rage. Mike pointed that out to me earlier. So it was definitely a trend. So
yeah,
I guess so. She does. I mean, she rocks it.
Oh yeah,
she does. I mean, I did always think that it was yellow leather as a kid, which makes no sense now. But
wow, now she's like in the Michael Jackson video.
I mean, it was the 80s, man. I mean, but
yes.
the little article that I found, it did say that they were mostly denim, like heavy materials
Mm.
for whatever reason. I mean, she had to be hot all the time. I mean,
New York, yeah, why not?
yeah.
Yeah, she probably was.
So yeah, like you know, they go through the evidence. The rope's made in Japan. She's doing like this newscast on it, and she's sitting there, and we got our favorite like camera anchor guy, Vern. He's chilling in the van.
Oh, Vern.
And then all of a sudden, like Bebop and Rocksteady's gang start rolling out of the shadows to jack them, basically. And it's like they got $1 million equipment for some reason, which I think is a little inflated, but you know,
the cameras, the news.
yeah, like their whole setup is just like,
yeah.
Was this ABC?
Yeah, it's like Channel 6. It's just like, no, you guys aren't. But yeah, so then like their whole crew ends up having all of a sudden this has like shit to do, and they're like, oh, I gotta wash my hair, like I gotta pick up my grandma, and it's like they all bail on the chick, and it's just like, here we go, we'll leave you with these like 6 thugs that are carrying like bats and sledgehammers. And she like pitches them one of the cameras and like does like this baseball slide head first into like the sewer, like she does like a reverse Pennywise.
That slide, man.
And I think we've talked about this before, but it's really funny when you first see her lying on the ground next to the sewer and she's not in it yet, and you can see the sewer there and you know that's where she's going because you know it's Ninja Turtles, but like it doesn't look like she can fit in it at all.
No.
But then she just kind of like, clearly the artist just kind of like, oh, she fits, and like all of a sudden she's just like halfway into the because it's not a sewer lid, it's one of the gutter things.
It's a storm drain.
Yeah, storm drain. Yeah.
She just phases through the grates.
Yeah. And then she's running. She like just is like she's looking behind her, and like just like flies right into a wall. She's like bonk.
Right in the wall. Yeah.
Oh, you mean down when she's in the sewer?
When she's in the sewer.
Yeah, it's like you didn't see that in front of you just like 5 seconds ago. You didn't know you were running towards a wall.
No, she's
just because you looked backwards for a second.
Yeah, right.
All she's thinking about is that story, man. She's got to get the story. It's like, okay, you know, these guys are about to kill her, and I mean, in reality, probably do way worse than that. Yeah. And she's like, oh, this must mean I have a scoop. I mean, really? That's the main thing you're worried about. So April O'Neil basically just don't give any craps. She's just all about the story.
Yeah, she's really a lot. I mean, it's not like she was ever a weak character. Like she's always been, you know, a strong character. But like, especially in that light, she's really kind of a badass, isn't she?
That's true.
Oh yeah, she ain't giving this up for nobody. Yeah, she's doing that. Bumps into the wall and into like this crew. Like I said, they had bats, sledgehammers. One of them does have a samurai sword or something. So I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, what kind of gang is this?
He must have been the guy who chopped up the door frame.
He had to have been. That was him. That Dr. Light looking mofo was right. And then 4 shadowy figures come out, and lo and behold, our heroes in the half shell.
So this, I don't know if you all peeped this or probably not. It's such a small detail. So I wrote down that it's like 4 minutes and 26 seconds. We do get the debut of the Turtles, but it's only Donatello's staff. And I love how like Rocksteady just looks at it and starts talking to the staff, the Bow staff, instead of looking over to see who's holding the thing.
No, it's magical.
Just little stuff like that.
Honestly, that fits Rocksteady so perfectly.
Yes, as we will see later on.
Yes.
There was I just a little teaser, and I would even consider it that, but I have the other day I was watching one of the later episodes of the 2nd season, and there's like a genuinely hilarious. It's very subtle, kinda, but it's like the funniest Rocksteady moment that I've ever seen is coming up. So we'll just I hesitate to even say keep that in mind because it's so tiny. It's almost just like a really small thing that just really got me for some reason. But like Rocksteady is really like just I'm really getting a kick out of Rocksteady.
Nice.
He was always my favorite. I always liked him over the pigs.
Did you?
Bebop. Yeah, I've always liked him. Plus, like, yeah, he always had like the grenades. His action figure I thought was really cool. But yeah, no, I always liked him. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're talking about. I don't know, so hopefully I can pick it up on it when it happens.
I think I'm really overselling it, but I just got such a kick out of this one little line.
But you get those kind of things, like you were saying earlier, like the stuff will go over our heads completely, the little jokes and quips and those small things that you're talking about as a kid. So it's, oh, okay, let's get to the next action scene. But now we're looking back on these things, and it's just like I've got this whole list of little Raphael zingers, and it's just like those small little kind of just like got you over here cracking up because it's so spot on. And the timing in this show, the comedic timing,
wit, yeah,
dude, that's
Raphael definitely lives up to his cool or rude.
Yeah, like the first thing he says, like one of the first things you hear him say, I think April says, you guys are a bunch of turtles. And he's like, bingo, we're dealing with a real mind here. And it's just like, that'll always be in my mind. That's like an iconic line for me. For one reason, the station that ran like the Turtles and syndication and everything, they always had the commercials, leading up to the cartoon. And that line was always in those commercials. So it's just like I heard that for years and years and years.
Wow.
And I actually got kind of not in trouble, but like scolded a bit for repeating it to my grandmother.
Wrong. Yeah, you gotta know your audience, Mike.
Yeah. No, like I said, I was a dumb kid.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Well, I couldn't even get away with that saying now. Like,
Yeah,
right. I would love to hear a little kid. Oh, we're dealing with the real mind here.
Yeah.
Grandmother said.
Well, I was like, wow.
What'd you say, boy?
You got a pair on you, dude. All right.
Yeah.
And she didn't care anything about no Ninja Turtles. She didn't care where I got it from.
There was
No,
no
it doesn't matter
context.
what. It doesn't matter.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yep.
None of that matters.
It's not like this isn't like kids say the darndest things. It's just like no, kids get their ass whooped. Like,
Pretty much. Yeah. Bring me your face. Slap, slap.
Yep.
so basically, the hero, the turtles save the day. They beat up the thugs. Bebop, Rocksteady go. They gotta bounce. They get thrown into like a dog pile. And at that point, I think she passes out because she sees who saved her.
Mm-hmm.
And they take her back to their den. And that's when they're trying to wake her up. And the first time they try to wake her up, she's like, oh, and passes back out. And then the second time she tries to wake up, I think it's Splinter tries to give her some tea.
Yes.
I love this. I love this because I never thought about it until you said it this way at one point.
Oh, it's actually the first time. The first time she wakes up, he like comes at her like real aggressive with this tea. He's like, perhaps some tea. And it's like she's like, oh, like passes back out, and then she wakes up again, and they kind of give her some crap because it's like, it's real hard to talk to you like this lady.
Yeah.
I never thought about like how you were saying at one point, like, yeah, the first thing she sees when she wakes up is this giant rat offering her tea. Like
that's normal.
Giant talking rat. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I would probably do the same as her. Well, she like comes to, and then it's like she wants like I think they offer her some food.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's like they offer her like all this like crazy pizzas and stuff like anchovies and peanut butter, jelly bean and mushroom. And then she's like, oh my god, do you have any normal food? And then Splinter's like, sushi. And it's just like she's like, never mind. And it's like, wow, you chalk sushi up in the same category as anchovy and peanut butter. I was like, damn, lady.
Sewer pizza. I mean, sewer sushi.
Sewer sushi. Yeah, I don't see any fish in the sewer. So where the hell are you getting this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're a rat.
Right, the fur. Yeah, that's numero uno problem. But the pizza, and I don't know, this is another one of those fun things to me to track. Kind of the flavors. We have pepperoni and ice cream, jelly beans and mushrooms, and then anchovies and peanut butter. Just,
I'm gonna pass on all that. That's all.
Oh, you don't like the pepperoni and ice cream? Come on.
No,
I could honestly live with anything except for the peanut butter one.
You don't like what? You got a problem with peanut butter over all that shit
on pizza?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know. I can't. I
mean, jelly beans. What's the difference between that and pineapple? I mean,
I don't put that shit on my pizza either. Like, If you're up there, yeah, you might as well put jelly beans on if you're eating that.
You get a lot of hate mail for that.
That's cool. You know, I mean, I think you will more than me. So yeah, then it's like then we start going to an origin story once she actually comes to, and they start breaking down in terms of like how Splinter came to be or who he was before he came to New York, and he was I think his name was Hamato Yoshi.
Yep.
And he was running he wasn't running it, he was in a dojo of the Foot Clan or the Way of the Foot. Which one is it? Is it
I think it was the Foot Clan.
the Foot Clan?
He said the Foot.
Oh, he was
just the Foot. Okay.
The Foot, yeah. So, and it was him, and he had like students there, and he also had another student. I can't recall his name, but he ended up being the guy that we all know as Shredder.
It was
Rokusaki.
Thank you. Yeah.
What was that, Mike?
Orokusaki.
Orokusaki. So, and I think Robert, you mentioned this, like how he like Orokusaki bamboozled Shredder out of his own dojo, basically.
Yeah, he very, very sly. So like the boss is kind of like the godfather of the Foot Clan or of the Foot, I guess, kind of comes to visit the dojo to see like how they're doing, or he just comes to visit for whatever reason, and they're supposed to bow to him, and when they're supposed to bow, or Shredder or Orokusaki pulls out a dagger and stabs it through Splinter's robe, or his gi rather, and pins him against the wall with it, and somehow the boss guy doesn't see any of this happen. And Splinter, therefore, or Hamato Yoshi, therefore, cannot bow down to the guy because he's pinned against the wall. And they're like, and the two kind of guards that are with him are like, you dare not bow down to your master? And Hamato Yoshi's like trying to figure out what's going on. He reaches behind him and he pulls out this dagger and he realizes that's what's going on. And then they see the dagger and they're like, "Oh, so you're planning to assassinate him? Is that it?"
So stupid.
It's so stupid. And then so they kick him out and he's exiled from the clan and all this.
Yeah. Well, they even asked the master, like, "What should we do with him, master?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, "Get his butt out of here." And it's just like wow, we're doing like something, Raphael. Like we're dealing with some real minds here. It's like, and this is like happening in front of them. Like they don't see. Like,
yeah, that's all. They're standing there throughout this whole situation. They're just standing right in front of them.
And it's at that point, you know, Hamato Yoshi, who's the penniless, and decides to move to New York, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world. So, you know, yeah, I'll follow his little train of thought. I can't. And so he's hanging out in the sewer, which makes sense because, yeah, I guess that's where you would end up.
I guess that's where you'd end up. He doesn't have any money and he makes friends with the rats.
He makes friends with the rats, and that's where he lives. And until one day, some poor little kid trips and drops a whole bowl of turtles into it, shatters this bowl, and I think the 4 turtles fall into the sewer grate and land on Hamato Yoshi.
Yep. They land on him, and then they become his pets.
Yeah, so now he's raising rats, and he's friends with rats, and he's raising turtles. And I mean, this guy's living the life apparently in the sewers of New York. And so one day he comes home and he sees like the turtles like playing in some like glowing ooze. And it's then, you know, after he wipes them off and cleans them up, that the turtles mutate into teenage mutant turtles. They're not quite ninjas yet, but they're definitely mutant turtles. And also, right after he drops them, he becomes a rat. Like he mutates into a rat. And I guess the logic they tried to explain was that whatever the last thing you touched, you know, being like, you know, he touched rats and he was a human, so he took on the properties of the rat. And the turtles, being turtles, touched him last because he was holding them, so they took on the properties of a human. So, but you know, it doesn't really check out because the last thing he touched before we saw it was turtles. So he should have become a human turtle instead of a turtle human.
He should have become, and I never even thought I did not even catch that until you said it at one point. I think Mike also noticed that too, but I just missed it. But yeah, technically, according to the way they describe the way the mutagen works, he should have become a turtle also.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder how that would look too, because it's one thing to go from a turtle to a human, but go from a human to a
I
turtle?
wonder about that. Or do you just go to the halfway point in between, or is there some kind of other?
She has like a skin shell. Oh my gosh, that would be
oh, now we're like nightmare fuel. He's just like, he's like, kill me.
Yeah, right. So yes, now about this, because I know that we had talked about this before, and we're like, hey, hold on, there's some kind of a plot hole here, something ain't right. But I watched it again today, and now this is a very subtle thing, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it, just like, apparently we all did. Now, and this is, if you want to get technical about things, if you watch it, he first steps into the puddle on the floor of the mutagen before he gets to the turtles. So there's a bit of mutagen a little bit before he gets into the pile of turtles, and his foot, he steps in it. So I guess if the very last thing that he touched at that point, were the rats, then that contact with his foot would make it,
Maybe you're right. That might actually be, maybe that's
right. But you look at it and you're like, oh, is that really the case? Or is that just like how they drew it and nobody was even thinking about that? So it's one of those things.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think they definitely weren't really thinking about that. They're just like, oh yeah, he's got rats. That was the last thing he touched. Oh, these turtles, they touched a guy.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids, they won't notice.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna come back to this in 30 years and analyze what happened.
Make a podcast
do a talk show over it. Oh, little did they know. But so he once turtles mutate, then he goes ahead and decides to name them after his 4 favorite Renaissance artists.
Yep.
And you got the Donatello with the humble bow staff. He can disarm anybody. We got Leonardo, we got Raphael with the size, who can disarm anybody.
Yeah, no sword. What is it like? No sword on
earth can withstand his size.
Yeah.
So so the size are supposed to be like a defensive weapon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see them as like that. Yeah, and disarming, but the thing is, and I think it was either you or Mike picked up on this, is like it followed right after is with Leonardo, who's like master swordsman, and it's just like, so we're emphasizing the guy that can disarm any sword, and then we have the guy that's the best with the sword. And I don't know if anybody that follows these turtles, those are the two that seem to have the biggest rivalry out of the 4. And so it's like, was this like the beginning of them setting up this rivalry, like just kind of like, or was it just an accident or reading into it?
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think that must have been Mike that I remember us talking about that. I guess it was Mike that came up with that idea, but that's really interesting to me. I wonder if that was actually planned.
Yeah, because you see Raphael, and I think we talked about this too, and he's usually the one that comes out on top, right? Whenever they kind of square up with him and Leo. Yeah.
I mean, okay. I think at least, from whatever I've seen or read, it's usually he's considered the actually best fighter. It's just that his attitude is what keeps him from being the best turtle.
Right.
And so then, and not to forget, right after Leonardo, we got our everybody's favorite party dude, Michelangelo, with the nunchaka. Yeah. So I mean,
we didn't mention our favorite turtles earlier.
This is true, but I forgot. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go around.
So I'll just say it right now because that's what made me think of this. Michelangelo has always been my favorite.
Party dude, solid pick. Mine's is Raphael. That's my boy. That's my dog. That's
I will say, as a kid growing up, Michelangelo was my favorite, just because he was the party dude and he was like the funnest, and the nunchucks were cool. I think they had like some of the coolest animations. At least in the video games and stuff. But growing up, eventually I think I resonated more with Raphael and his sense of humor, and so that's where I'm at. I gotta piggyback off of Mike, and I'm Raphael all day.
Nice. So you grew out of Michelangelo, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so. It's maybe not even grew out of him. It's just I just kind of, I don't know, just became bitter. like,
And by that logic,
Okay.
Robert never grew up. Is what you're
But
saying.
yeah,
so you became bitter, so you're able to relate more to Raphael, who's a little
Raphael.
bit bitter. Yeah.
yeah, he's a little salty all the time. That's why he's always coming up with these sarcastic ass comments. And
I always liked Michelangelo because he always seemed to be like making fun, like turning whatever situation they were into a fun thing in some way, even whether it's making a joke about it or just like being ridiculous or just doing something stupid and funny. Like he always was able to find the fun in everything, and I really thought that was fun.
yeah, no, and yeah, I know, like watching the episodes, you do see that, like that is really something he does do. Whereas, like Raphael's like, this isn't our fucking job. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, it's somebody else's problem. Like, he's like, nah. It's like almost like the Nicolas Cage of turtles.
Nice. Yeah.
Just like whiny. He's just like, and not whiny in a bad way, but in a funny way, you know.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's like Donatello's there, he's cool, but I don't know. There's always like this hint of sadness, and there's a tracker or stuff sorts that I think Mike is keeping.
we have been kind of talking about this too, haven't we?
And it's just like, yeah, I think it kind of plays into that. And I was like, he's cool, but it's just I don't know. He's a little melancholy for me. And to me, Leonardo was just too straight and narrow. It was just like, you're the straight man. And I'm like, that's boring.
Oh wow. See, I don't have, and I think I've said this in the past when we were just like chewing the fat. Yeah, I mean, Raphael is, if I have to pick favorites, he is my favorite, but I honestly do love all of them, and I don't have any negatives for any of them.
Yeah, I don't.
But I definitely
Yeah,
can see what you guys are saying.
there's none of them that I dislike in any way. I'm never like Raphael is my least favorite, but even him, there's never a time where I'm
Okay,
like,
in the podcast, that's I'm out.
Wow, I didn't know
I've
that.
I've
I'm
never
done with this.
thought to myself like, oh, I'm really so tired of Raphael. Like I still really enjoy the heck out of him.
You're making enemies right now, dog.
I
Yeah,
know.
just keep it up. Keep digging.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and as much as I may have just bashed some of them, it's like they've never been to the point. Like they're all turtles, they're all ninjas. I love them all. So, but it's just like
We
everybody.
love all Ninja Turtles,
Exactly. Even Slash.
especially
yeah.
Slash.
And you'll find out about him later. But
Mm.
just Raphael. That's my guy. He introduces the turtles. They go over that.
I love how right after they introduce him, and she basically wants to put them on the news. And they pretty much kidnap her.
Oh yeah. Well, she's trying to make a freak show out of them, and so they're like, "Hold up, lady, you're not going
Yeah.
anywhere because we can't trust you." So
Yep. That specific scene that you're talking about there, when like Donatello kind of
Yeah, he like jumps over. Yeah.
and stands in front of her.
that makes it real clear their intentions.
Yeah, and this
Like,
is one of the very first like voice mix-ups that we have. So that was Raphael's voice, and it's clearly Donatello. They even got a big close-up of him, and you'll find those. I don't know, those
That's
things.
so funny. I did not notice that.
Yeah. Those things are so funny to me. As a kid, they would crack me up for some reason. So that's one of the things. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Wow, I don't even remember that ever happening.
Quite often we'll find as we go along.
Yeah, there is an
It does
episode
happen.
3 or 4, 5 episodes from now where for like a couple frames, I forgot if it's Leonardo turns red for a second or if Raphael turns blue for a second, but that happens at one point.
We got one of those in this episode as well later on.
Oh,
Yeah, I
and
think
this one?
I think it's
Mhm.
Raphael turns blue.
Oh, wow. That's okay. I didn't know that happened in this one too.
Yeah. So yeah, once they resolve, they come to a deal. They actually decide to help each other, make this beneficial. That she'll help them. What was that? They'll help her break the story, and she'll help them clear their name. Is that how it works?
I don't remember the specific arrangement.
Yeah, they wanted her to help get
They help
Splinter
to
back.
fix. Yeah,
Yes, somehow.
that's right. Yeah, they want to find a cure for Splinter.
As a big ass
Yeah.
April, I think.
They
that's
think-
a big ass-
I don't remember that, but that's fine. So they think this is inherently tied to the mutagen. Like they just have that intuition, so they're like, we can save Splinter if we help her out.
Wow, I'm
Pretty
making
much.
some leaps here. Oh.
Okay.
She, I guess, because of her like investigative stuff or hookups or whatever. But that was, I do remember them specifically saying, once you do that or whatever, then or once we do this, your thing will be getting us some kind of help to get Splinter back to human.
Okay.
It's like I just watched the episode today, so it's fresh in my mind.
Nice.
That's the only reason why I remember.
And then after that, then isn't it that when they cut to the news station and her editor or chief is like, he's bitching that he's just like, oh my god, my number 2 reporter is missing, and Vern's like, taking a dig at her. He's like, she's not even your number 2 guy. He's like, well, maybe my number 3. And maybe, yeah. And like, to me, this guy, the chief or whatever, he comes off as almost like the captain from Lethal Weapon. He's always bitching about Martin, like about Riggs and Murtaugh. And it's like kind of comes across in the same tone where he's just like, where the hell is like, so and so? Like, they're always getting in trouble and this and that. And you got somebody over here, like, kind of like downplaying their importance. So, yeah, I don't know. It was, and like, they came out, I think, in the same year. So, who knows?
I see that.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to the Turtles and April, and they're coming up with some sort of plan.
Yeah. What is it? They just like, they basically are just like, let's go up to the surface and check things out. Like, that's kind of it, right? That's kind of the extent of the plan.
I think, yeah. It's like they gotta go up top and then start exploring, like follow the leads.
Start exploring.
They go back to where they had the little scuffle with the gang. See if they left any like evidence.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's when they find the matchbook for what's it called?
Ninja Pizza. The Ninja Pizzeria or something like that, and they go check that out, and there's like 100 places called Ninja Laundromat, Ninja freaking like cash advance, like
Ninja Video, Ninja,
yeah. And so of course they stop at the Ninja Pizza place to get pizza.
Yeah, but I think it's on their way there.
Oh, right, right. We skipped the whole little segment. Yeah,
yeah. There's this hilarious scene where it's just like they're still going. They're going top, like I think just dressed as like themselves. Like they're not in disguise or anything. And April's trying to lead them around, and they come across this lady with like a machine gun in her shopping cart. She's like, "Oh my god, monsters!" And she's like just about to start popping off.
Just wails on them.
Start like lighting them up, and so then they get the idea like, oh, we need some like trench coats and some fedoras because that doesn't look weird in 80s New York. But yeah, and then like while they're like walking down the street, some guy's trying to like con them, and he's like, oh, like you want to play a 3-card Monty? He's like, cut the deck, and then like Leonardo comes at him with a katana.
Yeah.
Jacks his whole setup up
and like slices his whole table in half. That was actually pretty funny. I thought that was like, I don't even know if it was supposed to be that funny, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then there's the right after that, there's like a little gag where April gets all their names wrong. And like one of the turtles will ask, why is that guy doing this? And she's says, I don't know, Raphael. And he's like, I'm Leonardo. And then it happens with all 4 of them, I'm pretty sure. But the best one is Donatello. He asks her something like, I guess this is their first time like on the streets, because they're asking all these, kind of very basic questions about like, why are they doing these things? Like they don't understand basic things about what people are doing. And she says like, I don't know, something. I don't know, Leonardo or Donatello.
Michelangelo, yeah.
Is that what she calls him? And he goes, I'm Donatello, and he gets this really sad look on his face. Like it's only for like 2 frames, but if you're paying attention, he really gets this very sad look, which is kind of maybe a little precursor to him kind of having a crush on April, maybe. But he none of the other turtles do this, but he gets this really sad look on his face when she calls him the wrong name.
Sad Donnie.
Yeah, and like Raphael gets like straight out offended. He's just like, yo.
Yeah, he just gets mad.
Yeah, which strays to his character. And it's right after that they find like this plethora of ninja properties. We got Ninja Dry Cleaner, we got Ninja Pizza, we got Ninja Shoe Repair, we got Ninja Rental, we even got Ninja Dentist. So, and then they go
Ninja Dentist,
and they walk into Ninja Pizza. And it's like actually a really cool pizza joint. So they post up there for a while, and they order, I think, some weird pizzas, and April
Yeah, it's like
decides to
sumo
walk
wrestlers
off.
and samurai guys running it.
Yeah, and they're all wearing masks, and like I'm pretty sure I see a little person in the background.
Wow.
So yeah,
The well, real quick, the pizza flavors. You got
Yeah,
Oh.
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
There's
Run 'em down.
one sashimi pizza, and then everybody else just orders whipped cream pizzas.
I think it's so interesting that they made that decision specifically for 3 of them to get whipped cream pizza and just Michelangelo to get the sashimi pizza.
I don't know. It was Raphael.
Was it Raphael?
He gets the sashimi. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Raphael gets the sashimi. What was like that was a very specific decision that they made. I wonder why they did it that way.
Mm. And don't they like always comment like, "Ugh, raw fish" or something like that?
Yeah, they got like beef with sushi, and then sashimi is like ultimate sushi.
Right.
Oh
I didn't think about that until you just
Well,
said that,
Raphael got problems.
yeah.
So we got a couple pizzas to add to the tracker.
Oh yeah. It's going right in the recipe book.
Oh, yeah, you can please share someday.
Potluck.
And while they're chowing down on their, pizza delicacies, April was off getting herself into some trouble trying to crack this case.
Yeah, she kind of runs off on her own while they're eating. She's like, "All right, you guys eat. I'm just gonna go check stuff out on my own." She kind of she just goes off.
Yeah, and she actually ends up finding out, like what's going on. And this like receptionist lady's like giving orders or like directions to these the foot soldiers that are walking very awkwardly. And she like, gives them directions like, "Oh, go to this address, we'll wipe them out." And so she's obviously in on it. And she goes, April goes to make a phone call, and that's when the foot grabber and kidnap her.
I got a question for you all. Now, I'm pretty sure this is just me, but the receptionist, did she give off any kind of like Janine from Ghostbusters vibes? It reminded me of her so rough. I don't know. Yeah.
She does, but I feel like I don't know if Janine was the original person like that. I feel like that's kind of a archetypal, awkward girl thing.
Okay.
Like awkward secretary type person, like character.
And the thing is, like, Janine is like kind of just like laissez-faire, doesn't really care. Like, she's very casual.
Okay.
Or like this lady, like she offers kind of a bitch to me. But yes, so when they come back to the turtles, and I love the check delivery system of this place. Yeah, like so it's like time to pay the bill, and it's just like freaking katana in the middle of
he
it.
puts it on a katana and tosses it and stabs it through their table. Yeah, that was
and they're not even like ready for it. And then they're like, "Oh my god, what is it? Ransom note?" And he's like, Raphael's like, or I think Donatello's like, worse, the check.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I thought the amount of the check looked kind of weird. It's very fuzzy. You can't really tell. It's only up for a brief second. But if you pause it, it's still very difficult to read, but it looks exactly like it says, well, to me, it very much looked like it said that their final bill was $0 and the square root of 91 cents.
Nice. See, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that because that's a very specific kind of thing. Like if the artist decided to put that in, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what the heck does that mean? Like, I'm not gonna say with complete certitude that that's what it says, but it really
was very blurry.
It was very blurry, but looking at this very blurry number, the absolute best that I could make out of it was $0 and the square root of 91 cents.
I'm with you on the $0 because I did the same thing as you. I'm like, what does this say? Little things like that. See, yeah, it's good stuff.
Wow, I'm looking at it right now. I give props for the fact that they actually wrote down the actual order was like the same. It was like 1 sashimi and 3 whipped creams.
Oh, do they even have the pizzas on there? I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah,
to
like
that.
some places wouldn't even do that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it would just be like little scribbles or something.
I was like, no, it's definitely legible.
Nice.
And by the way, we should mention that Shredder has cameras in here. He's able to watch them. We see Shredder for the first time. as he's watching them on his camera while they're in the Ninja pizzeria.
Yeah, this Shredder dude has like cameras everywhere. Like he had them in the middle of the city. He's out in the pizzeria. He even had them in the sewer.
So does he own all the? Does he have them in the sewer? Is that right?
I believe so. I think when Bebop and Rocksteady got trashed, he was like he was creeping.
Yeah,
Okay.
that scene that's like, well, it's not his full debut. You see his arm, and I kind of want to ask about this, kind of like the Janine thing. Did that remind you guys of like Dr. Claw at all?
I could see that. I didn't think about that, but I could see that.
But yeah, that was he has the cameras in the sewer, like you said, and these pizza places, these Ninja pizza places are all fronts. These are all like his little, fronts that he has plants, his agency and whatever. So yeah, that's why he's got cameras everywhere. And then just the technology of the Technodrome, you can probably have cameras wherever.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then why doesn't he know about the turtles?
I mean, yeah, he kept asking about them. It's like,
well, they haven't been up into the surface. Well, okay, I guess if he's got them in the sewer though, he should know, right?
And they don't know about them.
Maybe they hadn't gone to that part of the sewer yet.
Likely story. And so, they get out, they pay their bill, and they're like trying to find April, and they find like some evidence. They're like, oh, look, it's her press card, it's her like wallet, and they're like, wow, like she like something that happened to her, or she got like a giant hole in her purse. And then like for some reason they look up and like her purse is just hanging off the side of a building, like they can see this, and like there's her purse. And so they decide to hightail it up to the top of this building. They they get engaged with the foot soldiers. The foot soldiers show up and they start throwing down. And they go at it. They're still in disguises, but they get bum rushed. And Raphael, he's the first one to start throwing down with them. And he goes for apparently he likes to kill people because he goes for a gut shot with a sigh, and he hears it for the first time. He's like clink, and it's like, and honestly, that's the first time I realized that these were robots. My entire childhood, they were fighting robots. I didn't know that. I thought they were like ninja people, and yeah, they're not. They're all robots. And so then they realize that, and then they decide to go to town. Like they take off their trench coats and start beating the hell out of these guys.
Claim? Did you say claim?
Like, did you know like these things were robots growing up?
I don't know if I ever thought about it.
Like I recently saw a toy.
Probably.
I saw a toy recently that had like foot damage or whatever, and it was a robot that was all like busted up looking like a robot. But that's what like kind of got me thinking. I was like, wait, in the cartoon were these guys robots? And it kind of explains it, and it's just like, yeah, it looks like it. So
yeah, it's interesting that you all thought that. I mean, I always thought they were robots. I mean, even because of the video game, like they explode when you kill them.
Yeah,
and then this
that would make sense.
Yeah.
So they start fighting the Foot in this building, and I like the part where Shredder is watching his cameras again, and he's watching them fight, and he sees these Ninja Turtles, and he realizes he can tell from their fighting style that they must be students of Hamato Yoshi.
Mm.
And then
I like how he like rubs his face. Like he's thinking, and he's like, but he's just rubbing his face mask. He's like, oh yeah.
I didn't catch that, but then we see his full face.
Yeah,
which is very interesting because I had, always kind of considered him as being sort of a Darth Vader character, where you get to see his face one day, but you don't get to just see it from the start. It kind of like is a special moment, maybe.
No, nothing special about
but
this
no,
dude.
it's like here, this is what he actually looks like, by the way, just so you know. Like he wears a mask, but no, he looks pretty, basically normal. Otherwise, this is his face, nothing big, no big deal.
Yeah, he's not horribly scarred, or he's not like deformed.
right.
No, just regular Japanese dude that has a thing out to destroy New York or something.
Yep.
And then, like, the turtles are making their way through this building, and Shredder realizes that it's like, oh crap, they're gonna find out what's going on here. Like, they're gonna find out about the
This
Technodrome,
part's great.
and he's just like, yeah, I gotta keep him away from Technodrome. I gotta keep it a secret. And he goes on.
He says they must not discover my Technodrome.
Okay, so he emphasized the fact that the Technodrome is a secret. They must not discover it. So what's this guy do? He goes ahead and he gets on the intercom. He's just like, everybody report to whatever, evacuate, like go to the Technodrome.
I actually wrote down the quote. All foot, return to the Technodrome.
Amazing.
Over the building's PA system, so everybody hears it.
And then especially the turtles, because then
they wouldn't have had they wouldn't have had any reason to think there was some kind of special
exactly
place or thing or base or something like that. They're just fighting these robots.
Yeah. Do y'all think that was an intentional gag or?
That's a good question, actually. I really don't know. Are they trying to show that Shredder's not very smart, or like did they just not think about that? Like,
I don't think they thought about it.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards too. I just think they didn't really think about that.
Because like as I watch the show, I find more and more that Shredder he is the brains of the operation. He's just like hamstringed by everybody around him.
Yeah, bumbling idiots.
That's pretty funny.
He's like, yeah, like even his boss is an idiot. Like you find out later on.
Oh yeah, that's classic.
So then a truly believable part of the episode happens where one of them finds I don't even actually remember, is it a foot or is it a turtle who opens this valve?
Oh, it's a foot soldier.
Is a foot soldier. Yeah, so they're trying to stop him. They're trying to stop. Okay, so they're trying to stop the turtles from catching up to him, and they're in a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And so he opens a valve on a pipe. And it
apparently this was connected to the ocean.
It's apparently connected to the ocean with a pressurizer of some sort, because it fills up the entire building in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And of course the turtles can swim in the water. That's fine, but they're worried about April drowning. But they escape. And the whole building, not only does the whole building fill up with water, but then it turns into basically kind of a giant fountain. And then the whole thing literally explodes.
It explodes from water.
Explodes from water. A New York skyscraper
fully
fills up with water and explodes.
Totally normal looking skyscraper. Fills with water, turns into a cascading like fountain. It almost looks like one of those chocolate fountains you find in Vegas or something.
Yep.
And then it just decides to just crumble and explode. Like this goes everywhere and turns into a geyser, and that's all.
It's like not even a big deal. It's like not even treated as this big, enormous event. Exactly. It's like, oh, well, this building fell.
Yeah.
Don't worry about all the flooding and the businesses lost and the homes lost. Nah.
The people,
people lost. Yeah. The janitor in the building's probably dead. Now, one mustn't think of these things. But one thing I wanted to go back while they were on the roof, though, and the wall that they miraculously topple over.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's talk about that.
I think it's more miraculously that it's there.
It's funny that it's there. There's a random brick wall on top of a building. It's not one of the walls of the building. It's just in the middle of the roof of the building. It's just a random brick wall just sitting there doing absolutely nothing.
How convenient. And then they just muster this. Apparently the turtles have superhuman strength, I guess, because like
momentarily.
This is a solid, thick wall that the four of them just lean up against and topple over onto the foot soldiers.
Yeah, they just push against it with their shells and it falls over onto them.
Now, is it possible that this mutation that they went through, do they take on some of the properties? Like they obviously took on human properties, but do we know if like turtles are renowned for their strength?
I don't think so.
Like, is there some sort of like turtle strength that we don't know about?
I don't think this was supposed to be. I don't think this was meant to be a superhuman feat. I thought it was just meant like, oh, look,
teamwork makes the dream work.
if you push against a wall strong enough. I think it was meant to be a moment of ingenuity. Like, oh, they were just able to, like they realized instead of fighting head on that it would be more efficient just to knock this wall over.
That's cartoon efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get all the foot soldiers on the other side, group them together, now realize what we're doing, and squish them.
Yep. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, real quick. 21 minutes and 9 seconds. That is our first ever Cowabunga.
Okay.
Kind of cool.
Is it our boy Michelangelo?
There you go.
Nice.
None other.
And so once the water building falls down, they go back to the sewer, and are they talking about pizza again? Like, and she's like, "Don't you guys take anything seriously?" And it's just like, "Oh yeah," and like they bust out like, what's one of them? Like the banana sausage. That one actually sounded interesting.
Yeah, that's in fact that's April's choice. He's like, give me some of that bananas and sausage.
There you go.
Yeah, she's like, if that's what the best I got to choose from. Were there any others at this point? Or is that the only one at this point?
No, they don't. They show the pizzas, but they don't give their crazy names or their ingredients in this scene. Just
Gotcha.
April's bananas and sausage.
So along with the banana and sausage pizza, they also have one of the foot uniforms. Splinter sees it, realizes it's Oroku Saki's gang, and that's kind of what sets off the premise of pretty much the whole rest of the franchise, is them being like, oh, okay, well in that case we got to get Shredder.
Get Shredder.
Solid first episode, honestly. I thought like it was they laid out everything pretty well. They explained the backstory. They set everything up, but also the episode itself, like there's plenty of action, plenty of humor. Like I don't think you can really do much better for a first episode.
No, it kept me engaged. You know, like I watched it a couple times, and I thought it was good. You know, like you said, it had a great balance of humor and like, you know, backstory and character development. You know, just enough to be like, you know, for a kids show at least. You know, gives you the lowdown, so it's not like everything's a mystery and you don't gotta wait, you know, up to episodes to find out the origins of stuff. Which, you know, that bugs me. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily need it all in one episode, but like, don't drag it out. And like back then, these seasons lasted like dozens of episodes.
Yep.
So no, I was definitely impressed with how good this one is, and you know, like I said, the animation also, like the attention to detail that they had was impressive.
It was real. I really love just the look of this show.
Putting yourself back in your kid selves when you first saw this episode, how do you think you all responded to it back then? I know it's probably a difficult question to answer, but if you take it in and now, as you've watched it maybe a couple of times, 3 times or whatever, how do you think your kid self would have reacted to it back then? Or do you just straight up remember your reaction to the first episode of the Turtles?
You know, I don't remember. I mean, are you talking about this specific episode or just?
Yeah. Just like the first time seeing your very first, I mean, assuming this is the first episode you saw.
I can guarantee this is not the first episode I saw. I don't know what it was, but this definitely was not it.
I don't even remember seeing this at all as a child. But I mean, there's definitely certain episodes I remember more than others, but I do not remember this one at all. Now,
come on, guys, I'm the one with a bad memory here.
But it's you know, watching this and thinking about how I would have thought about it as a kid, I was like, I'd be all in. I'd be like, I want these toys. Like, I'd be like, I want to see what happens next week, and I want to start buying these. I'd be like, oh look, like, and I'd be like, yeah, give me like Michelangelo.
Right. So your mind would have went straight to the toys. Like, what are the action figures going to be like?
Oh, 100%.
What about you, Robert?
Probably the same. Yeah, I know I did see this one because I remember. I have memories of like certain moments in the show. Like for some reason, them spray painting the guy with the newspaper stands out. But I don't really remember. I think probably what have stood out the most to me was the introduction where we only see shadows at first. You know, of them fighting off the gang. And then you know, it doesn't last too long, but we see just shadows at first, and then we finally see the reveal of who they actually are.
Right.
I think that probably would have stood out the most. It's just kind of a neat little reveal of what's going of, you know, what the main characters are.
Right.
See, I can't recall this episode, but I can recall the next one.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah.
So you were saying, like off air, basically that you felt the next one was the better episode.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I'll stand by that. I think that the next one was just, it was funner and there was more going on, and it was just like, you know, a lot of the story was already established. There's a little more, like, it gets filled out a little more here in this episode, in this next one.
Mm.
But all the backstory stuff was already done, so we could really just get into more of the actual current stuff. And I like the, you know, reprising a couple characters, further developing them, if you could say that, and just even some of the more of the dialogue between Shredder and his boss, who gets revealed in this episode.
It's good stuff.
And yeah, I mean, and just like seeing just some of the other things involving the turtles, I was just like, I don't recall that happening. Like, I don't remember seeing them in certain ways. So I was like, oh wow, okay. But yeah, I definitely like the next one more.
Interesting.
Am I alone on that, or like?
Oh, I don't. I think I kind of like the second one a little bit more too.
Okay.
This was a really good episode, but I think the second one is even better.
Yeah.
Thinking about the second episode, which we're obviously going to talk about, I don't think I can say I like I'm not liking one more than the other. For me right now, I'm just taking it all in and just like, yeah, I remember this, I remember that, or oh yeah, that happened or whatever, and just marveling at the humor and everything. Because also for me, if I put myself in my kid's shoes or whatever, the humor is what did it to me. I'm like, you know, these guys are so funny and they're so cool, because there's a specific shot of Michelangelo, I think when they're getting ready to fight the Foot or whatever on the roof. It's just him in frame, and he's got his nunchucks out and he's like swinging them or whatever, and it's just the sound of the nunchucks as well. Like that whole thing, like that stuck with me, and it's just like, oh, this is a cool show. These guys like look cool, they sound cool, it's funny. So yeah, that all. And I don't know if I have like a favorite episode. Even thinking back then, it was just like as a whole, it was just the Turtles as a whole. What's your favorite thing on Ninja Turtles? Which one? The Ninja Turtles. Like, just, you know, it was all good to me. But now that you said that, I think I will maybe look at that a little more critically to see if I, you know, now as an adult, quote unquote adult, have you know, favorite episodes or whatever, if I like ones that are better than others. So.
Yeah, and maybe like, you know, like what specifically, like, you know, like that is like that makes them better, you know, for you, like, you know, I'm finding things that I know I enjoy more when I see it often. So
right,
yeah.
Well, we'll love to hear about all of these wonderful things in the upcoming episodes.
Yes, indeed. So, any last words, guys?
I don't think I have anything else. Honestly, I feel like we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Mike?
Bingo. We're dealing with the real mind here.
Awesome. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in this week. Next time, we're going to be going over episode 2, Enter the Shredder. Have a good one.